Hey guys, and welcome back to Live Like Low. This is Low Honey. Whew. This is Low Honey. And we are back with our relativity series, the 5 aspects of relativity. And today we're talking about the first aspect, which is your past timeline, okay? And so in the last video, we talked about that first part of the timeline, which is your higher mind, dormant and active, okay? So today we're going to talk about your lower mind. We have access to our lower mind. We always have. So what we want to do first when we're trying to work with our lower mind, now that we have our trust with our intuition and our advisor together, now we're going to come into the lower mind where we have been operating out of, okay? And we are going to start to cancel our access. What is it? Cancel. We're going to cancel our subscription, okay? That bitch is canceled. Cancel our subscription to our lower mind. Cancel the subscription, okay? Now, with our lower mind, the way that we're going to do that is first, we have to find our gems. Find gems, okay? That's the first thing that we need to do. When we are coming from our higher mind, now that we have access to this, we need to find our gems. What are the things that have helped us get through everything that aren't toxic, that are us, the parts of us that matter? We need to extract our best parts from the toxic, low vibe self. Now look, when I say we're going to cancel our subscription to the lower mind, that doesn't mean that you're never going to come here again. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're going to destroy this version of yourself. That's not what that means. That means that we are going to integrate this part of ourselves, but it's no longer going to be active. Does that make sense? Your lower mind is going to go into dormancy. Your higher mind is going to be active. We are now turning the key, right? We're swapping their position. The lower mind and the higher mind. Our higher mind is going to come into active participancy, and our lower mind is going to go into dormancy. It's going to go dormant, right? How do we do this? First, we have to extract the best parts of ourselves, okay? The parts of us that without them we wouldn't be ourselves, that are locked into the lower mind. So we're going to extract those. How do we know what those things are? Sorry guys, I got a call from my dad. All right. So we were talking about extracting our best parts, right? So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to identify our negative habits. Now, these are things embedded inside of the subconscious mind, right? And so essentially what we're going to be doing is reprogramming our subconscious mind. But what's very important here is that we get rid of the habits that support it. So we're going to teach our subconscious mind to cut the negative habits. Right? What are the things that are stopping you from doing the shit that you know you need to do? What are the things that you do instead of doing the other things that you need to do? What are your excuses for not doing the things that you know that you need to be doing? The things that will actually move you forward into your next timeline. All of those things that you said that you wanted to get through to a timeline, but now you are here with this, and then you're like, well, what do I do? This is what you do. You write down all your negative habits, right? Now, this is where we're going to leave this list. This list is not to be worked on right now. It's to become aware. Our point here is to become aware of actions. Why? Because if we're not aware of our negative habits, then when it comes to us attempting to create for example, a timeline jump, we'll take these negative habits with us and we'll sabotage our new timeline. And then we'll fall back down somewhere over here. Probably a little bit like maybe a timeline back from, a past timeline. So you'll go back to a recent past timeline, right? We don't want to do that shit. Fuck that, right? We don't want to do that. So you want to make sure, I don't know why I made all those loop-de-loops. That one's going to have to stay there. But we're going to have to make sure that we become aware of how we act and why we do it. This is the first thing, because usually the why or the trigger to these negative habits, right, are going to lead us into shadow work. I don't know what you guys thought I was going to say, but shadow work is included in everything. So get used to it. It's alchemy, bitch. You got to do the work. So you're going to have to go into here where the trigger is, and you're going to have to say, well, what is this trigger attached to? Well, this trigger is attached to, my mom didn't love me when I was a kid. So then I would do all this shit to make her feel better and try to people please, but she was never satisfied. Boom. So then anytime you put in a lot of effort into something, you get triggered, right? And then you commence doing negative thing, which is probably overworking in some type of way, some type of capacity, over pleasing, overdoing, over compromising, over talking, over loving, just over everything. You commence negative habit, right? And then that negative habit leads to an action that you don't want to be doing because it actively makes a block between here and where you are. Does that make sense? That block becomes right there. You don't want to create that block, right? You don't, right? So then we need to come down here and do some shadow work. What is it that we need to focus on right here? We need to focus on doing our work. We need to focus on going in and communicating with either our inner child or our inner teen. That's usually where we're going to find most of our negative habits, and we need to heal them. Now, the lower mind is consistent with a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, etc. Most of us who are here right now have probably done quite a bit of shadow work already, but like everything, the work is never ending because we are always attracting shit that traumatizes us the same way that we were traumatized a long time ago. And then therefore we need to heal ourselves from it again. And then we find new aspects of which that trauma has played out, even though we just healed it. But then here's another version of it. Okay, so, right? A lot of us was hurt again and again by the same shit. So we gotta deal with the same shit a lot until it's eradicated, okay? And so we need to understand how many negative habits we have and how many triggers are they attached to, and we need to work it out, okay? Work it out. Just work it out. It's a pain in the ass, okay? It's a pain in the ass. Now, we sat here and we went through finding our gems. Where's my... Did it fall on the floor? Okay, yeah. So now that we are here, we found our gems, and then we went and we found our negative habits. We wrote them down, and then we went and tried to figure out what the triggers were, what the negative habits were, etc. Right? The next thing we're going to do is find the hidden light. All right, guys, that was my TED Talk. Goodbye. Okay, no, seriously. Find the hidden light. So what does that mean? When we were all in the unknown, darkness, Now, the unknown darkness is different from divine darkness. The unknown darkness is ignorance, okay? The unknown darkness is ignorance. So when we were ignorant of our spiritual understanding, of our mysticism, of the occult, etc., there was once a time where we were in our unknown darkness, okay? Our ignorance. And we had this light, right? And this light, our guiding light, was the light that was able to get us from unknown ignorance into bright darkness, and inevitably brought us into the sun. Okay? So we go from dark ignorance to bright darkness to the sun. Now, bright darkness is a mediation period between coming into the sun and coming into bright darkness. Some of you who are new to my channel or who have been following me for a while that are new in your journey, you may have found me as you were coming out of unknown darkness, your ignorance, into your bright darkness phase. Some of you have found me through probably light language, right? Coming out of your dark brightness, right? Your bright darkness into the sun, right? These phases take you from beginner. Sorry, y'all, my dog is back there like having a time with herself. The beginner to intermediate to adept. Okay? Now, the reason why I put adept right here and not master is because you have to be able to maintain the sun for a given period of time before you can master it. The sun, you become an adept in the sun, and then you master it. When you become a master of the sun, you can walk around in all of these spaces and still access the sun without getting lost, to help others, or to become a beacon to help others, guide them through from the light place, or for those of you who are in divine darkness, from the divine dark place, okay? Or from the divine dark light, okay? I hope that makes sense. For a short second, we'll take a side eye to talk about that. So there is the creator. The creator is both dark and bright. Does this make sense to you? Okay. Both dark and bright. The feminine creator is dark, the masculine creator is bright. Now, when we talk about our delineations, the dark is still bright as fuck, okay? The bright casts giant shadows. Does that make sense? The darkness casts light shadows. They are the same. They are inverse of each other, but they are the same. Does that make sense? So the dark beings from the creator, they are bright as fuck, but they cast bright shadows. What does that mean? That means that when people come, when they're in the dark and they come up against someone who is dark light, they cast bright shadows that show people that they aren't as dark as they seem. They cast light. When people come into a very bright person, most of the time in the spiritual community, we call these people the chosen people because they bright as fuck, right? These people, they are bright, right? And they cast Dark shadows. Dark as fuck. Just dark, 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 dark. And everybody around them can see how fucked up they are, okay? It's not a bad thing, though. It's just, it shows people how to heal. That's the point. We all rub up against each other so we could get better with ourselves, right? So when I'm saying here, when you come to a point where you come up into your creative light, your creator light, whether that's dark or bright, okay, you sit in it at the sun. This is not like the sun, like our sun, but like the sun, the creator. We sit with the creator at the sun and we master it. We master the energy. We master holding on to it. If we were once bright, we may go into the dark. If we were once dark, we may go into the bright. Does that make sense? We start to learn the intricacies of the sun. Now, what's important is that we are in the lower mind. So when we are in the lower mind, our biggest thing is to make sure that we take our light with us. When we take the lower mind into dormancy, we cannot leave our light there. Okay? That is part of our soul. We should never leave our soul behind. Okay? Never, ever, 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 ever. Never leave your soul behind. If you end up leaving your soul behind, it don't matter how far you go. You could be over here, bitch. You're going to have to go all the way back up in this bitch to go get it. Okay? So the best thing to do is whenever you jump a timeline, always access the lower mind. Find the light. Because your lower mind is going to always be the mind that got you to the current timeline. Okay? And as you're leaving that timeline, you will get higher access to another version of your higher mind because you are ever expansive and you're stair-stepping your way to your understanding. Does that make sense? So every time that you close out a dormant of the lower mind, you are going to come back and claim your light. Now, what does that mean? Okay, how do we claim the light? How do we claim it? How do we know where it is? I'm going to tell you right now. Some of y'all have physical manifestations of it. Some of y'all have, some of you guys have physical manifestations of it. Some of you are going to have emotional manifestations of it. But essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have a blocked chakra spelled with a C. And it's a chakra that always is blocked. It's a chakra that always becomes blocked. Okay? It's always blocked. No matter how much Reiki you get, no matter what happens, after a little bit, it becomes blocked again. Why? Because there is light there. Your hidden light. Your soul fragment is surrounded by pain, trauma, and darkness. And you need to free it. How do you free it? Doing shadow work. That's why you got to do the shadow work before we get here, right? Because if you already did the shadow work, finding this hidden light would be like you going into a dungeon, you fighting off, an ogre or some goblins, right? And you eradicating all the monsters in this cave, in their den. And then you're exploring the dens to make sure you got every last one of them. And you find a cave, and that cave got a little you in it. That's like, I'm free. Because you came in and you eradicated the pain, the darkness, the trauma, right? That had been wreaking havoc on your life. And then you found yourself in the process. You became free. This version of you is bright than a motherfucker. It's like, bitch, I'm free. I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. And guess what you do? You take this version of yourself and you integrate it. Now, for those of you who have been ignoring your block chakra for a very long time, that is possibly going to come into illness. Okay? You might get some kidney issues, some thyroid issues, some heart issues, okay? And you can typically find out, like if you guys are dealing with generational curses right now, generational wounding show up in family illness. Going to come out in family illness because a lot of people don't do shadow work. Okay, this is a new thing that's become popular. It's not a new thing, but it's become popular recently. But shadow work or going to therapy wasn't a thing, especially in the Black community, for a very long time. And a lot of people don't go to therapy if you live in a toxic family because they don't believe in that shit, right? They don't believe in healing shit that's always been the same way, and they don't think anything is wrong with it. So then those family issues turn into illness. And that's because they probably repeatedly always had a blocked area and probably have multiple blocked areas depending on how many generational curses your family has, right? They'll come up with multiple illnesses dealing around the same thing. If your family has a lot of, let's say, molestation, for example, right? If there's a lot of people in your family who suffered from molestation, and one of the biggest things with molestation is that people don't talk about it, okay? People don't talk about it. So what's going to happen is, like, when the throat chakra is blocked, if the throat chakra is blocked, you can't talk. But also what's blocked is the sacral. You know what's also blocked? When the sacral is blocked? The root. Okay? So you got three majors blocked, right? Your throat has to do with expression. Sacral is sexual. Root, that's security. Somebody about to get some chains broken off of them today, honey. What? Okay, if you have suffered from this type of wounding, then it's going to be hard for you to speak your truth. So if you have a business that requires you to have services, your services are going to be harmed. If for any reason you need to feel sexy, you need to feel empowered, you need to feel confident about how you look, that's right there. In the sacral, okay? Also, your creative energy starts in the sacral. Your kundalini energy exists there as well. So you might have issues pulling energy up into your solar plexus for creative things, right? Or sustaining your creativity. Now you have your root, security. So your money's going to be fucked up. Maybe you having a stable place to live, okay? All that type of stuff. So let's get into it some more. What organs are around the throat? Well, you got your thyroid. And even though the adrenals isn't in the thyroid, your thyroid supports a symbiotic relationship with your adrenals. If for whatever reason your adrenals aren't working, your thyroid will overcompensate and vice versa. Also, your thyroid has a lot to do with, I believe it's insulin uptake, insulin production, I think. I could be wrong about that. Yes, okay. Okay, then you have your sexual organs here. So what's down here? Your liver, kidneys, sexual organs. Probably more associated with your gall and your lower intestines and colon, right? Your root. Your root is basically the exact same stuff. And this would probably be your upper intestines too, a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about that. If your family, now I know I'm missing like a couple organs, a couple glands, a couple major things here, but it's enough to get the point across, right? If your family has a generational wound, that generational wounding has created generational illness. The illnesses will pop up in the associated organs associated with the blocked chakras that wounding is associated with. And it's fueled by the wounds and the trauma. So until someone heals the wounding and the trauma, they can't get better. If someone gets cancer throughout their entire body, the emotional work is more important than anything else that's here. The emotional work first, but they also at the same time need to heal their body. They can't heal their body at that point. It's so far gone. They can't heal their body just by doing emotional work. They have to go to the doctor. They have to get the treatments. Does that make sense? It's gotten so bad that not just your aura is showing the wound, but now your physical body is showing the wound. So even though you do need to fix the core of the problem, which is emotional, it's wounding, it's generational wounding. But because you've let it fester for so long, you got gangrene, bitch. You got to go to the doctor, right? You got to go to the doctor. Whatever type of doctor you go to, you got to go to the doctor. So the point is what we're saying right here is when you close access to your dormant mind, you are going to also get rid of any type of blockages in your chakra system to keep your health stable, but also this is going to allow you to see what you're breaking off of you. At the same time, what are you looking for? Your hidden light. And a lot of the times, if you break a generational curse and you find your hidden light, every ancestor that was unable to find it before you, their light becomes yours as well. And you also free their soul fragment from that bonding, that bondage. All of the bondage that your family has been through will be released. Just because you want to go to a different timeline. Do you see what I'm saying? The work is real, boy. The work is real. Okay? Now, there we go for today. What I want you to remember is that this work in the lower mind is essentially just shadow work processing. Okay? It's shadow work processing. It's not easy. Okay, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is what's going to get you from point A to point B. It's going to get you stable, and it's going to create a foundation in your present timeline. Because now what you're doing is you're healing all wounding from previous timelines. And every time, the more you jump, the more you quantum jump, the less work will be in this area, right? The less work. But if this is your first time doing any goddamn thing, this shit is going to be heavy. It's going to take you a few months to get through this, possibly a year or two. But in the process, right, you're going to be going toward the ideal timeline. Because the moment you thought, I'm going to go from point A to point B, it has already begun. It's already began. Your movement has already started. This process is making it faster. It doesn't feel like it. It's going to feel slow as fuck. It's going to feel like this some bullshit. It's going to feel like, goddamn, all this shit hurts. But it's going to be moving you up the timeline. So by the time you finish this part, you'll be right here. It'll be about, I would say, you would be about 25% there. When you get to this point, you'll go to your present timeline where we'll do some present work. That'll be mostly reprogramming yourself so that you can start to attain higher gains, right? And then you will go into the future You're going to start working into your desired timeline. What exactly is it that you want, right? And then you'll be at the ideal timeline, but there'll be a few extra steps so that you can recognize where you're at, okay? Because your ideal timeline has to be a whole thing. But sometimes you'll arrive in the timeline, but you still got to pull the shit together, right? You got to pull the shit you want into alignment. So let's say, for example, if I wanted to go from 1 million to 10 million and I got to 9 million. To get that extra million, I'm going to have to do something different than I did to have a $1 million month. If I want to go from $1 million to $10 million, I'm going to have to do something different. I got almost there at $9 million, but now I'm going to have to shift something to make it consistent at a $10 million month over month, right? And that's this. Because you've done these two things, the next couple phases are going to be so much easier because you have your higher mind's advisor, okay? And you'll be working out of your higher mind. You'll no longer be working out of your lower mind, but you will be working out your programming. You're going to be reprogramming, right? Because you need a subconscious mind that is going to, you need a subconscious mind that's going to support your higher mind. Once you create dormant access of your lower mind, you're going to have to reprogram your subconscious mind in order to support the higher mind. That comes with doing affirmations, all of the things that you're kind of used to doing when you're trying to manifest. Affirmations, you're going to be scripting, you're going to be visualizing, you're going to be meditating about, you know, where you want to go, what you want to be, how you want to see it. But you're also, what you're going to start doing is cultivating the habits, the structures, the idea-isms of who you are in association with your higher mind. And as you're doing that, you'll be progressing closer and closer to this ideal timeline. Okay, so this is part 2, babes, of your past timeline. And I believe we have one more thing that we're going to talk about in the next video, which is going to be your master key. Once you have mastered your lower self, your hurt self, your previous self, right? You're going to receive the master key. Your master key is going to provide access to all lessons previous, all lessons learned, etc. But what also this master key is going to do is going to open every door you need to open to get to your ideal timeline. Does that make sense? For you to get from point A to point Z, you're going to need to open this lock and 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 this lock over here that doesn't seem connected. This lock, this lock, this lock, this lock, this lock, this lock, and this lock. Does that make sense? And sometimes it be looking all like this. And you be going all around the world like boom, 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 boom. But you need this master key because it will open every door. Sometimes you'll have to wait for the perfect timing to open a door, but the doors will be opened, okay? So in the next video, we will work on that. I do love you guys. I appreciate you guys for coming through and sitting with me. I know that these lectures are super long, but when I teach, I'm really teaching because I don't want you guys to get into the finagling of being in some bullshit. Okay, guys, it gets real, you know, and I want to make sure that you guys are stepping into your next level solid and that you have some structure underneath your feet. Because if you're not moving with the laws of the universe, if you're not moving within Ma'at, then a lot of the time anything could pull you off a path, can throw you down into lower levels of life, and you have a hard time pulling yourself up out of there. But something that's really great about this process right here with your past timelines is no matter what, even if someone wants to pull you off kilter, you won't fall past your most recent timeline. What does that mean? Your most recent timeline jump, You will not fall past this timeline. If you go up, you'll come right back down, but you'll land right there. You're not going to go down here and have to start over. Does that make sense? You'll stop right here, and you don't have to worry about going back through the dark night of the soul. But something that I need to tell you is once you begin this process, bitch, it ain't no going back, because you can't go back. Does that make sense? You closing the door and you saying, I'm here to stay, and it's only up from here. So if you decide to continue forward, understand this is your point of no return. Once you receive this master key, baby, that's it. That's it. I think I'm going to make a guided meditation for the master key, but we'll talk about it in the next video. I love you guys. I hope that you continue to rise, vibe, and move with your highest I and in your higher mind. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Bye.